Want to grow your business and take it to the next level? Well, here we all are, and we are going to show you how through hard work, perseverance, and a little help and know-how, you can take things to the next level and push the success of your business even further. Let's get going.
Good to have you on Live Knowledge by Omobola Stephen. This is also Omobola Stephen. Now, on Live Knowledge by Omobola Stephen, we want to focus on personal development and self-improvement. Personal development and self-improvement is a lifelong process that we all must need to embrace in order for us to transform from where we are to where we need to be. Now, it's a constant work that we need to do, but I tell you, that is what the effort at the end of the day if we don't give up. I have expert and professionals who are going to share disruptive mindset conversations that's going to literally transform your mindset. Today, I have Liam Brown, who is the leading authority on competitive gaming event management and technology development. Hi, Liam Brown. Welcome to Library.
Hi, great to be here.
Great to have you on the show, Liam. You're an expert in this industry, and I'm looking forward to a great time on the show with you. Now, I'd like us to begin with the future of gaming. What potential impact does it have on education and health, and also on entertainment and also on artificial intelligence?
Yeah, we can just start from the ground up, really. So as far as like the educational perspective, the kind of the traditional pathway in traditional athletics that we've seen exist is in elementary school, middle school, high school, and college. There are those football clubs, those baseball clubs that the youth are able to engage with so that they could go on to become pros. And right now, that path to pro environment also is beginning to exist in gaming in and of itself. So you're seeing much more schools and different educational institutions be a part of esports and gaming programs in a more organized fashion, not just clubs anymore that bring together people with a common interest, but actual competitive entities that go on to bring the youth into that varsity level athletic experience, coming to bringing the youth together, being a part of like different friend groups, and that kind of traditional sports aspect has been transferred over to esports and gaming. Now, one thing that's interesting about this is that it further legitimizes it and feeds into point number two, is that in entertainment, gaming has been on a long time trajectory to become a mainstream form of entertainment, something that that not replaces, but comes to the same level of watching TV after work, or going to watch some kind of competitive sports after work. Something though that a lot of the population does in their free time. Now, where I come in from the esports perspective is the simple fact that I am representative of the professional level of gaming. So whether or not you agree, and I know this has been a weird debate in the media of whether or not esports is an actual sport, doesn't matter, really. It's competitive entertainment that people want to watch. They're taking things that you do day to day and bringing it to the level of the pros, and that's very interesting for millions and millions and millions of people. You know, our industry recently hit a valuation this year of 1.49 billion. Going into 2025, not 2025, 2029, we're set to hit 5 billion. The global fan base is over 300 million esports enthusiasts. That's only the hardcore of the hardcore. That's not even counting casual gamers. So as far as the implication for the future of gaming, I see it becoming further a mainstream success point and further a revenue stream for other brands who want to get into the space, and that's really where I come in. So we can dive into that later, but that's really where I see the future of this going.
Oh, really? Now talking about the meta changes to tech advancements, we still want to dive into that, and also, if you've seen artificial intelligence, how can we keep up with the evolving esports industry?
Now in esports and in gaming, artificial intelligence has been used for decades. Developers have used AI on the base level to compute how enemies are going to react to your actions. When you walk into a room, how do the enemies react? And that's just like a base level example of how AI has been used. With artificial intelligence's implementation into game design, we've seen a lot more developers auto-generate different environments and then fine-tune and tweak things so that they're able to save time and further bring gaming titles faster to the audience. So from the game design aspect, artificial intelligence, I believe, has a really big role to play. And then from fan base management, connecting you with other people that are of the same skill level as you, perhaps same geography. That's something that the technology is able to do as well. So I think AI's entrance into the space is very positive for esports and gaming. And as with any new technology that comes into the space, it's not the technology itself that people necessarily need to worry about, but it's the people that know how to use that technology that become the best players in the space and the best equipped for the new generational changes that happen. So I think that in using different AI platforms, that's going to be the next step for staff and new entrants into the gaming space in order for them to stand apart. So one thing that we've seen lately is larger gaming developers acquiring small developers and buying them out when they experience some kind of small success. Now, I think that more and more people are going to be able to enter the gaming space with a level head and without such a level of with a further level of education, if they have different artificial intelligence tools under their belt that they have full mastery of. So, and as far as like the metaverse and that kind of experience, really the most easily accessible and advanced metaverse experience is Discord, and gamers have been using Discord for years. Really, it is in the singular digits, but the platform itself allows people to engage with the metaverse on a handheld, desktop, console-based experience. And it's one of the main reasons why Facebook, now Meta, is losing a lot of money. And you can really quote me on that, because we don't all live in virtual reality headsets all day. It's going to start on your phone, creating a group chat with your friends, going into different servers, interacting with other people, and again, bringing people together in perhaps a gaming-focused background is one of the ways that the metaverse has really been able to impact our space. So from the metaverse to the artificial intelligence side, those both have a really, really interesting way of bringing gaming and esports to the mainstream and to the masses. So that's where my head's at.
Sure. Liam, do you think that there's enough hype about this esports and gaming industry? And also, how can we begin to encourage certain countries, right, to engage in this, this business?
Yeah.
And also, 3-in-1 question: how can we support esports players?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and to kind of go back, I think to support the esports players themselves, one thing that I've seen is that we need to instill in them positive daily habits, much just like traditional athletes. So encouraging full time of rest. Now, sleep is not seen as a really big tool in really anything besides sports. And I think that if we start to encourage more healthy habits, making sure that the physical activity and the nutritional intervention are there in the esports athletes' lives. So one thing that I brought to the Knights is the fact that I encourage a lot more of our athletes to engage in exercise. I encourage them to make sure that they had time away from the setup to perhaps go outdoors or to engage in some form of physical activity. And not only does that help with performance, but it also helps with mindset. And if your mind is clear going in and you don't have the same anxieties and fears, or things in the back of your head that are troubling you, your performance in the long run is also going to pay off, because you're not going to be dealing with as much of the perhaps baggage, physical, emotional, intellectual baggage that some of these other players might be having. And one big problem in esports is burnout. And burnout occurs when there's not just overwork stress. Also, that's coupled with lack of sleep. So I think that one of the best ways we can support esports athletes is by enforcing those healthy habits in conjunction with the structure that perhaps is reflective of the traditional sports. So making sure that everything is regimented, healthy food is going to the body, making sure that sleep is there, and there is some sort of protection from the blue light. So making sure that 1 to 2 hours before they go, make sure they're going to bed, they are shutting off all screens, and really just making sure that those universal healthy habits are there. And that might seem like a cop-out answer, but that's really at the base level. That's one of the best ways, because that's something that's been so overlooked. And then as far as on the nationwide level, how different countries can begin to implement this, I mean, if you want to go through a national security issue, many different special forces, government entities, and military entities utilize esports to recruit. So if you want to better invest in the defense of your own country, one of the best ways is to invest in different esports tournaments and different esports programs to train that next generation, because it is one of the best ways for training the next generation of drone pilots, snipers, making sure that the reflexes and the aim are there so that you can better transfer those skills into a military career. That's one thing that the U.S. government has done a lot. CIA, Air Force, Navy, military, they all have utilized esports as a way of recruitment. Really making sure that the best of the best are receiving those like packages and incentives to like go into the esports and gaming space. So that's one of the easiest ways. And from the flip side, going in from a national investment level and making sure that people have the necessary equipment to compete on the world stage, perhaps. And I'm not saying that the government should go and buy everybody like the most updated PCs and consoles and stuff like that, but perhaps bringing people to a level in which that they are able to go after some of these purchases. So that's kind of like how the wave can start in different countries. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Leah, for that insight. We know that each different organizations have its challenges, and now you just highlighted some of the challenges, of esports gaming industry. I'd like us to talk a bit about them, some of the toughest challenges that they confront, and as an expert, how do you think they're going to overcome them?
Yeah, one of the first is you need to identify all the things that are holding back your organization from success, and perhaps that's going to take the form of purely the competition. So one thing that I've seen is perhaps the developers themselves aren't, the structure of the leagues themselves are not beneficial to the teams that are even competing. So what makes esports different from traditional sports, there's a lot of things. One of the things is the competition structure. The organization of the competition structure and the league management, seeing what teams are able to compete, that is all dictated by the game developers, as opposed to in traditional sports, like nobody owns football, nobody owns baseball, like the sport itself. But in esports, that's different. So making sure that the contract negotiation is there and that your team is receiving some sort of payable metric or a favorable metrics of success from the developers themselves. Not just the permission to compete on their stage, but also visibility, some sort of stream of revenue, because when we talk about revenue in esports, sponsorships, payment from developers in even competing, and if prize money from different events, those all have a place. But you notice that you got to make sure that your team is taken care of when negotiating with even participating in these sports. So making sure that each of your teams and esports organizations own more than one team, and they'll compete in different esports titles, making sure that each of those teams are well taken care of by the developers. So that means you got to make sure that you're hiring the right person to negotiate with these game developers, and then making sure that the esports athletes themselves are brought to some sort of schedule of not just competitive training, but also content as well. You want to make sure that your athletes are not only participating, performing well in tournaments and leagues, but also so that they are able to create content on the side. You want to make sure that you're bringing as much traffic as possible to your sponsors and also to your team as a whole, because brands win championships. It's not just the record itself of the team. But if you're able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the top dogs in the space, you don't necessarily need to win the big championships. You are just a part of that conversation. And that's really beneficial. So two of and then also I think the one big issue that a lot of teams have is the branding. So making sure that you're sticking with your values and you're not constantly doing things that conflict. Maybe, and that could take the simple aspect of, okay, I'm this esports organization and our colors are usually red and white, but we just put something out that's blue and black. How does that make sense for us? And making sure that you're sticking with some of your core values, styling, and you're not betraying the fan base. The cool thing about esports is that the fans come first, really, and you got to make sure you stick with that. Make sure that everybody has a home, make sure that everybody has a community to really delve into. So I think as far as like the issues, like from the fan base, branding, participation in leagues and with different developers, I think those are probably the first ones that really come up in this space. So that's really,
And now, talking about hiring the right team to manage the esports industry, there's some people who are out there who are looking forward to handling the esports executive team. What expert advice do you have for them, for those who want to apply this road?
Yeah, so that takes a bunch of different there's a bunch of different pathways into that space. At the higher level and the executive level, it's going to be more networking. You're not necessarily just going to be filling out some kind of job application. So going in on the executive side, you want to take inventory of your skill set, what you bring to the table. I mean, that's as you go into any position, but that's a very important step to bring, because esports organizations exist on the bleeding edge of consumer insight. What we represent is the 18 to 35 cord cutting, ad blocking, high income audience that is very perceptive, and they don't respond to traditional campaigns. So that's where we come in, and we have to create specialized activations that put the purchasing decisions in the subconscious. So you need to make sure that you're able to abide by those laws and make sure that you're bringing cutting edge skill sets to the table, because you don't just want to be the run-of-the-mill executive that just came in and ended up messing everything up because you wanted to go from the traditional sports angle or go more from the corporate angle. You need to go in and you need to integrate in with the family values that occur at that esports organization. So making sure you have the skill set, and then making friends with each of the other team members. And when I say team members, not just the athletes themselves, but also the team members on the behind the scenes. Make sure that you're making friends with them in an authentic manner. Maybe you meet them at different conventions, maybe you have an interest in the space, but you need to make sure that you're not just going in to get something out of it. You need to go in, with not just the positivity in mind, but you need to go in wanting to help and build the space. So you're going to make some sacrifices there, because we are an industry in its infancy. While we are on a huge trajectory of growth, there is a lot more organization that needs to happen. And as far as networking with the people at the higher level, which more than likely the executives coming in are already well versed in, making sure that you have a skill set that is noteworthy to bring to the table. And then also making sure that you have new ideas and fresh ideas that don't conflict with the brand that you're going in. One of the things that I found when I came into the Knights is I brought a bunch of different suggestions as to different events and different teams and different streams of content. What I didn't realize was that our focus wasn't just going to be on competitive teams, and it wasn't just going to be on content, but really finding a mix of all of that. So that didn't shoot down my ideas. It just it wove them into the canvas of our organization, but in a way different than that I originally intended. So I think that taking inventory of your skills, networking in the space with esports centric events, I think that's one. And then also just being an active member of the community. So you don't have to be like like a fan, but you do need to know what the heck is going on. You do need to know the tournament structure. You need to know how to play the games themselves. I see a lot of people coming into the space not being gamers at all and not being well versed in esports at all, and they just come in. It's like, well, I'm not even a gamer. This is just my kids really. And there needs to be a little bit more familiarity there. And I'm not saying you need to pick up gaming and you need to buy Shadows of Rubicon, like Fires of Rubicon, and like all the Call of Duties. I'm not saying that. Just you need to be versed in some way. That's probably my biggest advice to executives at the base level when you're just getting into the space. Maybe you're in college, high school. Start being a member of the community there. Be an active member in the discords of each of the teams, and also understand that there is going to be some things that you might do for free. You might be a Discord mod for free. You might do work like volunteer at different esports events, but that is something that's necessary in order to gain experience. And I would say be an active member of the communities and make sure that you're constantly keeping a beat on what gaming and esports things are happening perhaps in your area, because you never know who's going to be there. My organization has shown up at stuff in small towns and people look at us like we're crazy because they didn't expect like such a large organization to show up to this smaller event. And I was just like, I just wanted to stop by, and they're like, and I walk out with like 7 resumes. It's a nightmare. But that's probably my advice to people at like the grassroots level and then also at the executive level trying to get into this space.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Liam Brown, a leading authority on competitive gaming events management and technology development. I really appreciate your thoughts on this very important and interesting topic of discussion. Do you have any projects in the pipeline or any exciting news that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, actually, so my organization, Knights Esports, we're the only team in the world who runs our own events. So a lot of times when you look in esports, there's tournament and events organizers and there's competitive teams. We're a tech developer, we host competitive teams, and we also host our own events. So we're definitely a full stack esports organization. One of the really cool things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be hosting one of the only Riot Games sanctioned off-season Valorant events here in Pittsburgh, and further in our efforts to bring Pittsburgh into the mainstream of gaming events. But it's going to be Knights Forge, and we've got like 30 teams flying out from all over North America to come and compete. The prize pool is going to be around $15,000 US. We're going to be taking over this old historic theater called the Phoenix Theater here in Pittsburgh, and it's going to be going this month from the 21st to the 24th. And I probably that's probably one of the most exciting things that is in the pipeline, because I don't know, like I wake up every day excited about what I'm going to attack that day. And I can tell people confidently like, yeah, I work in gaming, and that kind of like throws people for a loop. So these bigger events, like this is definitely something that's really exciting for me. And so Knights Forge, 21st to the 24th this month. We've got also going challengers for next year. We're going to be running on behalf of Riot Games the entire competitive season here in the North America for the title Valorant, and that's going to be really exciting. And so those are probably like 2 of the biggest things in our pipeline that I'm really excited about.
Great, excited about that. Yeah, I wish you best of luck in the project, Liam, and also in subsequent ones.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, can you share your social media handles and also your website?
Yeah, so best website is probably going to be knights.gg. So that's just the KNIGHTS at .gg. And then as far as my LinkedIn, it's linkedin.com/Liam Esports, or you can just look up Liam Brown Knights on LinkedIn. I'm the first guy that comes up. And those 2 platforms are probably the best for me. If you go on the Knights Instagram, you'll see me in a couple of the videos too. So definitely check us out.
We'll be on the lookout and we can do that. Thank you once again, Liam Brown. I really had a great time listening to your thoughts on today's show.
Awesome.
Once again, wish you best of luck. Sure do. Now, if you'd like to catch up with any of these episodes of the Library Omobola Stephen podcast, you can do so on any cross promotion platforms or any distribution platforms that you bump into online. Then do have a great time. Listen to experts and professionals share their thoughts on disruptive mindset conversations on topics under personal development and self improvement. Now, I need you to stay safe. I talk soon.